Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to It Came From Netflix, here on Reaction and Review. Yes, guys, I once more am dedicating an entire month to movies I find on Netflix, and I'm kicking things off with a horror movie from 2011. That movie is The Life Zone. Now, I don't know a lot about this movie, guys. I'm going to tell you straight away. The only thing I know about it is that it is a torture porn film similar to Saw and Hostel, except this one comes with a strong and very, very preachy anti-abortion message. Now, I am just going to lay this out there right now. When it comes to abortion, I am a pro-choice person. So I'm kind of curious exactly how this movie is going to spin a pro-life message. I'm really, really curious. I've also heard nothing but terrible things about this movie in terms of not only the quality, but also how it gives out its message. So, I have no idea if I honestly am going to find anything good in this. I very, very well could. But the only way I'm going to find out if there is anything good here is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out The Life Zone. Wait a minute. That is the grand plan here. These people kidnapped three women who are all at the fucking abortion clinic at the same time. They're going to hold them captive for exactly 7 months until all three of them give birth at the same time. I am going to assume then that the, kidnappers are all set to induce labor on all three of them at the same time. And that they've also set up any and all potential contingencies for things like miscarriages, or one of them gets a hold of a wire hanger, or something like that. I really hope that the kidnappers have thought through every possible scenario. Otherwise, guys, the writing here is incredibly lazy and fucking stupid. I'm gonna call that right now. I am so glad you asked that movie. No, I am not enjoying the movie. This movie is a piece of shit, and I can't wait for it to fucking end. Alright, guys, I honestly have to ask this. How the hell did a movie this shitty get a fucking star as big as Robert fucking Loggia to be in it? I'm wondering exactly what kind of a bet Robert fucking Loggia lost to have to be in a movie this absolutely mind-bendingly stupid. I'm really kind of curious, guys, about that, and I'm really wondering it more because this movie's getting duller with every passing second. My fucking God. Guys, I did not think it was possible. This movie's fucking writing is getting worse as the movie goes on. Mind you guys, this thing started off with really shitty writing to start with, but the very fact that we are now within 15 minutes of the movie ending, and the writing has just gotten steadily worse, I dread to think how bad the ending is gonna fucking be. Well, guys, that was The Life Zone. God, that was torturous. No, shut up. I'm sick and tired of listening to your shitty music, movie. Fuck off and die. Anyway, I stated at the start of this episode that I am a pro-choice person. I'm going to attempt to keep my politics out of this as best I can. I do want to judge this thing as just a movie first and a piece of political propaganda second. So let's just sort of dive right into things. I want to talk about writing, and unfortunately, I have to dive immediately into the politics of the film when I talk about writing, because at one point we are told that our three prisoners are going to have nothing else to really do outside of watch TV for the next 7 months until they all give birth at the same time. And so, as they are watching TV, they are forced to watch a bunch of documentaries, interviews, and news segments. All of it was filmed for this movie, giving arguments both for and against abortions. The problem is that the arguments on both sides are played up rather flimsily. And when I say that, I mean that the people who are pro-choice, apparently the only argument that any of them have are Constitution, Roe v. and Roe versus Wade, and a woman's right to choose, and the Americans' right to choose, and the poor people should also have a choice, and this and that, and then the characters in the movie, all of the pro-life characters in the movie who are showing these documentaries, will then stop it and go, yeah, and those arguments suck, but then they never bother to explain why. And the closest thing we have to an argument when it comes to pro-choice, the loudest one, and also probably the dumbest out of all of the arguments in this film posed in either, direction, was a short film, which our three prisoners and us as the viewer were forced to sit through, of these two guys essentially arguing about what is and isn't right for abortion. And the reason why the argument is flimsy is because during that entire time, the person who was supposed to be the pro-choice person was trying to argue at what point the fetus magically transforms. They continue to use the phrase magically transforms. At what point does a fetus magically transform into a person? At which, and the argument there, and the only argument which was posed, there were two arguments posed. One of them is that a fetus magically transforms when it's able to live outside of the mother, which makes sense. I honestly am all for that. Or, according to Roe versus Wade, the fetus magically transforms at 6 months. Which, even though I wouldn't go as far as 6 months personally, okay, good enough, whatever. But still, the very fact that apparently you cannot use laws and you cannot use legal, terminology for this. No. According to that short film, which is the best argument this film has in terms of being pro-life, outside of the really stupid twist ending. I don't want to spoil that twist. I really should, because I don't want you guys to suffer through this, but I'm not going to. If you seriously want to know about how stupid the ending is to this movie, then you get to sit through it, okay? But anyway, the closest thing we have to a proper argument against abortions, outside of the constant statement that no matter how pregnant you are killing a baby, instead of just killing a lump of cells that's slowly growing if it's only like a couple weeks in. Closest thing that they have to an argument is at what point does the fetus magically transform. They can't even bring up a decent argument on either side outside of the logical argument that it's legal and it is the woman's right to choose what she wants done to her body. At least, again, guys, that is just me going and throwing in my own like personal, politics, and I don't want to I don't want to dwell on that too much. So, writing-wise, this thing here was supposed to pose a huge pro-fucking-life argument, and it failed miserably there. But you would think then that that a movie which is trying to ramrod a message would at least have, characters and things that you could, follow, and that you could totally get behind. Unfortunately, our characters here are all shallow as hell. All right, so we have our mystery man on the friggin' TV who shows up all of 4 times, which apparently is because they could only pay Robert Loggia to show up for just maybe, I don't know, like 45 minutes tops maybe to film everything. And that actually sort of, taking into fucking account like multiple takes and all that. So we have him. He does almost nothing throughout the entire film. We then have our doctor, who has been an OBGYN for 30 years, and she's helped deliver thousands of children, and so on and so forth, yada yada yada, so on, yeah, so whatever. And then we have our 3 victims. One of them is a politician, one of them is a lawyer, the other one is half German. And yes, guys, I just gave you all of the character depth we have for every one of these characters. One of them is a gynecologist, one of them is a politician, one of them is a lawyer, one of them is half German. I wish I was making that up. So we have characters who are shallow as hell, arguments that are flimsy and stupid, in a movie that is trying to pose a strong argument. So yeah, guys, writing here is a total misstep in every conceivable way, because we do not have a likable character. We have a message that is failing miserably to that is failing miserably to get itself out there. So ultimately, writing here sucks from top to bottom. Acting here is shockingly decent. I would love to just like shoot down the acting here, but frankly, the only time that the acting is bad is on all of the documentaries and news clips and short films that our prisoners are forced to watch. It is in those moments that the acting sucks. But in every other instance, when it comes to the doctor and when it comes to Robert Loggia, when it comes to our three prisoners, all five of them can act. And they can all act really well, which is a miracle considering how terrible the script is. So I am massively stunned. My only complaint when it comes to our main cast of five is the one character whose sole trait is that she's half German doesn't sound German at all. The actress fails miserably at trying to do a German accent. It sounds more as if they drug her kicking and screaming out of fucking Canada to be in the movie and said, okay, you are German, but it seriously doesn't matter. You can just, sound normal. Who cares? That really, guys, is like the one lone negative patch amongst our main cast of five. Now, when it comes to all of the short films and news clips and documentaries, which were all filmed for this movie, the acting there is awful. The acting there is wooden, it's stilted, and it's shit. And I think part of that, especially since a whole lot of the stuff we see are almost all pro-choice arguments, I really think that all of that was done on purpose. We have the wooden and the stilted and the terrible acting because it is supposed to negatively paint the pro-choice argument, which is a terrible way to try to get your message out there, because rather honestly than put out there a proper argument, instead you are just going to make the other side look terrible by using horrible acting. It really is the worst way you could try to get a message out. So I personally find that to be just friggin', I personally find that to be morally and ethically disgusting. Now, moving on, camera work here is pretty good. Lighting, when it comes to lighting, this movie is a little bit dark. I do find it a little bit weird that everything here from the dungeon / clinic that our three prisoners are trapped in, to the kitchen that the doctor works out of, which is immediately outside of the dungeon, is very, very dark and dreary and dim, and that probably ties into the really terrible, stupid, and retarded ending that was tacked on at the last second. So, lighting here is really, really dark, and it makes the movie look kind of dreary and kind of shit. So, we do have that. The music here is boring and tedious, and it is ultimately for gettable. I'm going to tell you guys right now, in probably about 20 minutes, I am not going to remember a single piece of music in this movie. I'm probably not going to remember a whole lot about this movie, because guys, when all is said and done, this movie, Life Zone, is incredibly gettable, outside of the fact that it is trying to send a message, and it sucks at sending it out. That really is the only memorable thing this movie has, is that it tried and failed to send out a message. And I would honestly have had much more respect for this movie if it actually could have pled its case a lot better. Instead, the movie is a dull, tedious bore, and no, I could not recommend this to anybody. This movie sucks. It sucks because of the writing. It sucks because of the lighting. It sucks because of half of the acting. This movie is ultimately, guys, this movie's boring, and that to me is the worst thing a movie can be. I have no problem with a movie being bad. I have no problem with a movie being terrible. But when a movie is boring, that to me is the ultimate sin. Because, guys, I honestly am able to sit through a bad movie, and I'm able to sit through a terrible movie with no problems. A boring movie becomes torturous to get through. So that, guys, is why I cannot recommend this. And if you see it on Netflix, avoid it. Unless you seriously want to suffer through 90 minutes of garbage, you don't want to watch this. There are far better things on Netflix to watch. Okay, there are mountains of better things on Netflix to watch. In fact, I am going to go try to find something better. I'm not totally sure what yet, but I'm going to go find something better to watch. So guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.